Hey, welcome back to Fluent English Talks. I'm Anna.
And I'm Ben. And this is episode 5, the last episode of week 1. If you've been here every day this week, we are genuinely proud of you.
5 days, 5 episodes. That's not nothing. That's a real commitment.
And today's topic feels like the perfect way to close out the week. Because everything we've talked about this week, shadowing, introducing yourself, thinking in English, why it all works, it's all pointing towards one thing.
One moment, one experience that every learner dreams about. Today, we're talking about your first fluent conversation, what it feels like, how it happens, and how you can start moving towards it, starting right now. This one is close to my heart. Let's get into it. So, Ben, let's start with something honest. What does a fluent conversation actually mean? Because I think the word fluent gets used a lot, and it means different things to different people.
That's such an important place to start. Because a lot of learners have this idea of fluency that is, honestly, a little unrealistic.
What do you mean?
They think fluency means no mistakes, perfect grammar, a perfect accent, never searching for a word, never pausing, just flowing effortlessly like a native speaker.
And that's not fluency. That's a fantasy.
A little bit, yes. Even native speakers make mistakes. Even native speakers pause and search for words. Even native speakers say and you know what I mean.
So if that's not fluency, what is?
Fluency, in the real and useful sense, means you can communicate. You can express what you want to say, you can understand what the other person is saying, and the conversation keeps moving forward. That's it.
It's about flow, not perfection.
Flow, not perfection. And once you let go of the perfection standard, fluency suddenly feels a lot more achievable, because most learners are actually closer to it than they think.
That's such an important thing to hear. I really believe that. A lot of learners undersell themselves.
They do. They have a conversation in English, they make 2 or 3 mistakes, and they think, I failed, I'm not fluent. But the conversation happened. The meaning was exchanged. That is fluency working.
Okay, so let's talk about that first fluent conversation, the one where you feel it, where something clicks. How does it happen?
So in my experience, and from talking to so many learners over the years, the first fluent conversation rarely happens when you're trying to have a fluent conversation.
Say that again?
It rarely happens when you're focused on being fluent. It happens when you're focused on something else, when you're interested in what the other person is saying, when you're curious about the topic, when you forget, just for a moment, that you're speaking in a foreign language.
You forget to be nervous.
You forget to be nervous, and in that moment of forgetting, the language just comes, and afterwards you think, wait, did I just have a fluent conversation in English?
That's exactly how it happened for me the first time. I was talking about something I really cared about, and I completely forgot to monitor myself.
And that self-monitoring, that constant checking of your own English, that's actually one of the biggest blockers of fluency.
It is. When you're busy watching yourself speak, you're not actually speaking, you're performing, and performance is tiring and stiff.
Real conversation is not a performance, it's a connection. And connection happens when you stop watching yourself and start focusing on the other person.
So how do you get there? How do you reduce that self-monitoring?
A few things. First, lower the stakes. Have your first fluent conversations in low-pressure situations, with a friend, with a language partner, with someone patient who you trust.
Not your job interview, not a formal presentation.
Not yet. Start somewhere safe, where making a mistake doesn't feel catastrophic, where you can laugh at yourself and keep going.
And that safety is what allows the language to flow.
Exactly. Safety creates flow. Pressure creates freezing. So engineer the safety first.
What else?
Second thing, have something to talk about. This sounds obvious, but it's not. A lot of learners freeze in conversations because they don't know what to say, not because of their English, but because they haven't thought about the topic.
So, prepare topics. Have things you genuinely want to talk about.
Things you find interesting, things you have opinions about, things you've been thinking about lately. Because when the topic genuinely interests you, the language follows the interest.
Your brain is working on the idea, not on the grammar.
Exactly. And that's when the chunks we talked about in episode 3 start coming out naturally. Because your brain is reaching for them, not because you planned to use them, but because you need them to express something real.
That's such a beautiful moment when that happens.
It really is. You use a phrase that you've shadowed 20 times, and it just comes out perfectly, naturally. And it surprises even you.
I love that moment. It's like, oh, it's in there. It was in there all along.
It was always in there. The practice put it there, and the conversation unlocked it.
Okay, third thing?
Third, accept imperfection as part of the conversation, not as a sign that you failed, but as proof that you're doing something real and hard and brave.
Brave. I like that word here.
Speaking in a foreign language is brave, every single time. You're putting yourself out there in a language that isn't yours yet. That takes courage, and courage deserves respect, not criticism.
So, when you make a mistake in a conversation, what do?
You keep going, or you fix it quickly and keep going. And then you continue. You don't stop, you don't apologize for 5 minutes, you don't abandon the conversation. You keep going.
Because the conversation matters more than the mistake.
The conversation always matters more than the mistake. The other person is not keeping score. They just want to connect with you.
And connection is possible at every level of English, from A1 to C2.
From the very first day, connection doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. And presence is something you can bring to every conversation, no matter your level.
Presence. That's the word I'll take away from today.
Be present. Stop monitoring. Focus on the person, not the performance, and let the language do what your practice has prepared it to do.
Trust the practice.
Trust the practice. Always.
And that's it. Your first fluent conversation. What a way to close out week 1.
I hope this one landed. I hope it made someone out there feel closer, more ready, more willing to try.
And if you've already had a moment that felt fluent, even a small one, even just one sentence, hold on to that. That's real. That's yours.
Your challenge for today and for this weekend: have one conversation in English. It can be short, it can be simple, with a friend, a language partner, a stranger online. One real conversation.
And when you're in it, try to focus on the other person, not on yourself, not on your grammar. Just listen to them, respond to them, be there with them.
And notice what happens when you do that.
Tell us in the comments, have you had a moment that felt fluent? Even briefly? We want to celebrate it with you.
Week 1 is done. 5 episodes, 5 ideas. And next week, we keep going. More shadowing, more real English, more tools for your fluency journey.
Subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And share this podcast with one person this weekend, someone who's learning English and needs a little encouragement.
Transcript is in the description. You know what to do.
Thank you for an incredible first week. We mean that.
Take care of yourself, rest this weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Bye for now.
Bye. And remember, your first fluent conversation might be closer than you think. Maybe it's this weekend. Go find out.